Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees.
Hello friends, welcome back to the Beards and the Bees. I am your host Aaron, your personal guide through backyard beekeeping. Behind the camera is the lovely Samantha. So, today we're going to actually make a video. We haven't made a video in a while. It's been at least a couple months, hasn't it? Yeah. But the reason we haven't made videos is because we got to the point where there was the same thing every week. We're kind of doing the same thing. We were coming out saying, hey, there's a little bit more honey in there this week. Hey, there's a little bit more honey in there this week. There wasn't really anything entertaining to really show you guys. Nothing really pivotal that you guys would need to see. However, we have lots of honey now. So, it's time to extract. Time to get the honey out of that hive, into some jars, and into our bellies. It's going to be delicious. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe, all those fun things. If you have any tips and tricks for us, put them in the comments below. We'd love to see them and hear about them. And let's get into it. So before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know kind of what my process is as I do this. So that if you're going to do this, or have done it, you can kind of relate your process to mine. So we have the brood box, or the honey supers. And in between those, right here, it looks like a thicker inner cover. Well, what this is called an escapement board. At least that's what they told me it was called. And what this does is it has a little puzzle on it where the bees can go one way, but they can't go back up into the honey supers once they went down. So we'll take this apart and we'll show you what it looks like. Let's break into these babies. So the goal here is to go as fast as we can and be as efficient as possible, because now there should be a lot less bees here. There's going to be a couple stragglers. There should be a lot less bees in here, but we want to get them off and away from the hive. Otherwise, we're going to attract a lot of attention, and they're going to want to just go back and tend this honey. So here we go. Alright, so it's looking pretty desolate, and I kind of peeked in a little bit, and there's not a whole lot going on, so that's good. That means everybody went down, or at least the majority of them did. So, these two boxes, I know, are full. Well, these two boxes, actually. Now, this is a mistake that I made, but to let you guys know, bees always want to start from the top, very top down when they're building honey. So what I did is once I filled up one honey box, I thought, well, I'll put the new honey box closer to the brood box. That way they don't have to go through the whole second honey box. Well, they just skipped right over that because they wanted to work from the top down and put nothing in the bottom box. So I ended up having to take those all apart and pre-put them to where the top box doesn't have anything in it. That way they can work from the top down. Keep that in mind. It's a mistake I made. All right, so let's pop them off and see what we got. There's no bees in those frames from that escapement board. Isn't that cool? That makes our lives much easier. This one's even heavier. It's cool because I can see all the honeybees down inside here, but they're behind a little gate. So with this last honey box that Scott let us borrow, they are building it out and fixing what was there. It looks like they put a little bit of honey in it. So, but that means that they're working it. They've definitely fixed all the honey because these frames were...
You mean all the combs?
Yeah. These frames were pretty gross when I got them because he pulled them out of his attic. It was something that he had gotten from somebody else. So, just to take a look while there's nobody home. So with these frames that I got from Scott that he pulled out of his attic, there was already some drawn comb on there, which is what I wanted. He gave me 2 boxes of frames with already drawn old comb in it. So the problem is that the comb was old, a little bit dusty, a little moldy. But it was already drawn comb. Once you get later in the season, the bees are no longer making a whole lot of comb and wax. So if we can give them a head start for the fall flow, that makes our lives a lot easier. What you could do is spin the honey that you have and then put them back in there for the fall flow, but this just happened to give me a little bit more time, so we appreciate it, Scott. So, but they're already fixing the comb that was a bit damaged, and they're now putting little bits of honey in there. So we will put this back on and let them tint it. But we have to take the escapement board off. So now they're down to one box to worry about. We'll take the other boxes once they're spun, we'll freeze them. That way if there's any mites or moth or whatever could be in there, it'll kill it, and then we'll be able to store it. So this tool here is a godsend. Scott let us borrow this from his honeybees, and this is how he harvests honey every year. So to give you guys an idea how this works, I mean, I have a brush here for the bees. I didn't have to use it though. There was maybe 2 bees in the whole thing, the whole one through both of those boxes. So just like a normal inner cover, the bees go down inside of here. However, on the other side, because your honey supers sit on here, on the other side is a maze for them. Looks like that. So what the bees do is they come through the little hole right here, and then bees have a tendency of hitting a wall and then walking down a wall. So they go up there, they walk down the wall, they find the little hole, and it pushes them right out, and they have no problem. However, bees don't articulate to go into small holes like this. So once they come out, they can't figure out how to get back in because there's no easily accessible ways to get in there. Plus that, there's probably so many bees coming out that there's the point of going back in. So usually once you get a decline in bees in the supers, it gets a little chilly up there because there's not a whole lot of bees. So the bees will go, oh, I need to go meet everybody else. This party's dead. So everybody goes down to meet with the other bees to stay warm. So it's a really awesome way to do this. I have another one that I just bought that goes actually in just the hole. I haven't tried it out yet. I don't know if it works, but I will let you guys know. This one, however, works amazingly, and I'm glad that he let me borrow it. I'll have to buy one of these or make one of these myself. You can see it is a little bit thicker than a regular inner cover, but they're worth their weight in gold. I'm pretty sure Man Lake sells these. You can, I'm sure, get them a lot of places, or you can just make your own. All right, friends, let's get this honey inside, uncap it, and get started with the fun stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so now that we're inside, I'm gonna try to pull these frames in an ideal situation. I'm gonna try to pull these frames straight out. And the reason I got it set up like this is because this whole other side has propolis on it and it's really tarry sticky. And so I think if I set it on my counter, it'll make little squares of propolis. And that stuff is hard to clean up. You're not just gonna get it off. So, well, that's a lot of scrubbing. So I'm gonna try to do it this way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I figured you would. Okay, so these are some outside frames. So there's not a lot going on. You see there's a little bit of honey. You can see the glistening. That's a little bit of honey, but that's an outside, and I think this was our less popular box. So we're gonna set this one aside for now. We might scrape it and sling it later. There's a way to tell if it's ready or not, and that's to set it like this into, see how that water fell out? That means that the honey that's in here right now is not the consistency that it needs to be to take it out. There's too much water in it. So what the bees do is they fan it with their wings and they dry it out. So this is actually not ready to be spun. So we're just gonna leave it alone because I don't want, you wanna keep as little bit of water in your honey as possible. That way it doesn't go bad. So second frame in. Pretty well drawn. This side.
You gotta start moving. Okay.
That is a beautiful solid thing of honey there. I don't know if I'll be able to get the uncapping knife on all that, but we'll try. If not, we got the little scraper and we'll scrape the caps open and then go from there. But see, so we had our very farthest frame, second frame in, about 90%. You want to usually go about 90% capped before you start to spin your honey. So if you get in there and about 90% of it's not capped, leave it go, let it go. So, but you can see as we get closer towards the inside, they're filling it right up. Putting the strainer, you have to use food grade buckets. These are smaller ones. I wanted a bigger one, but this is all they had. This will work fine. I'm putting a regular strainer into here. So we have a honey strainer that you can order offline, or you can just pick it up a lot of times at your Tractor Supply store. And it's just a little fine mesh. This says it's 400 micron, so I don't know if that helps any. But this one's gonna go for when I'm draining the honey out of here for the finer particulate stuff. So I only have one, the store only had one, so I'm gonna use it to the best I can. So for now, we're gonna use the strainer for all the big heavy stuff, like the cappings. Being the fact this is our first year, it's the comb, they didn't draw it out very far. If I would have put 9 frames as opposed to 10 and spaced them out a little bit better, hindsight's 2020, I didn't know that when I very first started, so I used 9. But next year, or I used 10. But next year I will use 9, that way it pulls it out just a little further. It's easier to get this uncapping knife on there. As you can see, it's not the thickness it needs to be. So it could be that because we're on the farther end, not sure, but we will find out. So if you don't have that, you go buy a little scraper, a little uncapper, and then we can uncap. We just want to uncap just those tops, just like that. Let all those cappings drain down into the strainer where it'll take all the heavier stuff out. Alright, I'm trying to save as much of that wax as possible because the wax, people think the honey is the most important part, but realistically the health of the colony is in the wax, and it's going to make your job a lot easier as the beekeeper if you can keep as much wax as possible, because next time you put it in, it's less work that bees have to do when they could be working on putting in honey. Looks pretty good. Alright, so that's the first one. Put it under our centrifuge. Up in there, love?
You can't really see it.
Let me see. So they go down in the centrifuge. Now when you're putting these in the centrifuge, you want to make sure they're as equidistant as possible, or as equally weighted as possible, I should say. So if you put a frame on this side with the handles facing one way, you want to do on the other end with the handle facing the other way. So I'm going to try to make it as even as you can. Where's the other frame?
Step back though. Wow, that is really heavy.
So this one you can see is far enough off that frame that we should be able to get the knife on there, which should make it a little easier. It's solid both sides. That's so awesome. So let's see what you got here. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can do this. So you want to do it like a saw type motion? Isn't that satisfying?
So pretty.
I know. We should do the ASMR videos with this.
Yeah, let's not. Those videos make me uncomfortable.
Sam loves those videos.
No, you love those videos.
If you guys have any videos to recommend to Sam, please put them in the comments below. She would love to see those. So this is how it's supposed to be normally. It's supposed to be able to just put your bread, or you can use a bread knife. Well, I was going to say bread knife. But you can usually use a bread knife, but I just happened to get this uncapping knife because it was on sale. And because if I can make it easier for myself, I will. Now, for the rest of these, I'm going to bring it up like this. Just for these last little bit, which is actually what this thing is really made for. It's just getting those last little bits. Look at that. That's so awesome. That's a lot of honey.
Can you eat the capping?
Uh-huh. I absolutely can. but we're gonna strain it and then keep the wax out of it.
For what?
For making candles, balms, whatever we want. Whatever our little hearts desire, Sammy. So we're gonna flip this around. And this one's gonna be a little, like weighted a little weird because the one's super heavy. The other one's not quite as heavy.
So you only get 2 in there at a time?
Yeah, this is a 2-frame extractor. So we're gonna spin it. And then once we spin it, we're gonna spin it back the other way just a little bit, but then we're gonna take them out, flip them, because you wanna get the other side, otherwise it's spinning towards the center. Are you ready? This is our very first spin. So if you look down inside there.
To watch, sorry.
Here, let me grab my flashlight right here. You can watch the honey sling off of it. That's really cool. Can you see in the side there?
No, it's like
There.
glaring on it. It's glaring on it. That's better.
So you should be able to watch the honey sling out of it. Can you see it up against the walls?
Yep, some of it.
So as we do it, you can see it really well. Because I can.
Oh yeah.
So it slings out against the walls. And you don't have to go fast. A lot of times people think that you have to really crank it real fast. Or, you know, it's going to take effect. It'll be fine. So it slings out against the walls, everything drains towards the bottom. Pretty neato. Alright. Let's spin it out the other way.
It smells really good.
Yeah, it does.
It smells like a clover, kind of. Isn't it?
A little bit. There's probably a lot of clover honey in it. So we'll take our one lid off and see what it looks like. Definitely feels weighted. So
Oh yeah, you
those,
can definitely tell there's.
see, they're still shiny, but they're empty. Whereas these ones, you can see how it's still packed in there. Can you see that? But there's voided areas on that side.
So you do have to turn them and stuff?
Yep. So you want to turn them that way you can get. Otherwise, when it's spinning, it's all going towards the center.
Oh, okay.
So you want to make sure you get both sides. Yeah, see those scrapers, they don't do as good for the other stuff. They're keeping the honey intact. Okay, so this is another one that I don't think that we're gonna get on the blade. You can always check it out, but it's not big enough. So, back to the scraping. Now, if you use the scraping knife, it's gonna damage the comb a little bit more than as if you use the actual uncapping knife. So, you gotta rob Peter to pay Paul at some point. But like I said, you can avoid all this by using 9 frames as opposed to 10. I know on Man Lake and there's another honey outfit that does a lot of stuff. I don't buy a lot of stuff online, but I know they sell spacers that you can set in there and run it across, and it makes them perfect. So you can check those out too. Alright, so we've extracted one whole box plus 2 frames of the other box, and we have so much honey now that it's hitting the bottom of the grates. So that being said, we need to drain some of this out. So we got a filter and a food grade bucket. We're going to filter some of this stuff out. So I'm not sure how fast it's going to come out because it's thick and heavy, or how well it's going to go through the strainer, but we will find out. So this is going to get the particulates from the wax. That way when we put it in bottles, it looks nice and clean. So in an ideal world, I would have another bucket with another honey gate on it that I would pour into that bucket. That way I could just, because it's easier to pour them in bottles from here. So as you know, rich golden honey.
Wow, that's awesome.
Isn't that pretty? So we have all the honey you can see over here. This is our strained honey. That's quite a bit. We still have quite a lot left in the tank. You can hear. Baby's gonna cry. And so now we have our honey bottles set out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour this into these. You gotta have food grade funnels too when you do this. It's important. So we're gonna, Sam's gonna run the funnel, and then I'm gonna run the bucket. We're just gonna click, 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 fill them all up. These are 6-ounce honey bears. We ordered online just to give out to the neighbors and stuff. They make them in 8 ounces, which is a little bigger, obviously. For this one hive, these 20 bottles are not enough. It's not gonna make it. So we're gonna have to get mason jars or order some more bottles out, but we will let you know how it goes. So, all right, we're gonna fill them up.
Say hi, Potato. Hi, Potato. Say hi, YouTube friends. Hi, Potato. YouTubes.
Here we go.
Oh.
Let's see what that does. Is that the bigger one or the smaller one? Ooh, look, they have a bigger one. I wonder how many ounces this is. I wonder if we could just fill this thing up.
Possibly.
Okay, friends. So it's been kind of a process here. We've been here for 4 hours.
Yeah.
We definitely underestimated how many bottles we were going to need, because we still have honey over there. This thing is still about half full, and we have 20 of these 6-ounce bottles almost done. So we're going to have to order a lot more bottles, and probably bigger ones. I would recommend, if you have at least one hive, get the 8-ounce bottles, unless you want to pass these out for free. So what we're going to do with these is we're going to give these out to family and friends, obviously. So 6 ounces will be a little bit better. We want to share the wealth as much as possible. And if you can, I would always recommend giving some to your neighbors too, because though they are your bees, giving them a little bit of honey for dealing with your bees, because everybody's getting your bees. So they don't just kill them, you know, it's to say, hey, thanks for not killing us. Here's a little bit of honey that we have. It's just a great thing to do with your bees. And it kind of, you know, everybody's going to be on your side for your bees. What more could you want than that? All right, friends. Here's our finished product. We're going to slap some Beards and Bees labels on them, and then we're going to start selling them on Facebook and stuff. I don't think we're going to be selling them on YouTube. Unless we, I mean, maybe, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If so, we'll make a video and let you know. But as of now, giving them out just as, you know, tokens for family, friends, loved ones, stuff like that. So, all right, friends, if you have any questions about the whole bottling thing, we've kind of went through every step here. So we're, I mean, this was in the frame a couple hours ago, and here it is. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, things like that, throw them in the comment section below. I will be happy to answer anything that I can. Very important thing, I don't know if I mentioned it out there, but I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about people's first harvest, and the one thing that I noticed, and I wouldn't have known it if I didn't have friends that were already in the beekeeping trade, when you go to get your honey, it's important, very important, not to smoke the bees when taking those frames. So use a bee escape like I showed you, or use some other means to get them out there. Do not use the smoker, because it will taste like pine needles. So don't do that. All right, friends, until next time, I'm Aaron, that's Sam, that's Walter, You guys are awesome. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon.
That, throw them in the comment section below.
Can you pause? Any day now. And Henry's sucking his binky.
We're good?